Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our third Faith Forum. And today's topics are technology and social media. And Jonathan will spend a few minutes enlightening us about the projects and the priorities lined up for the use of technology and the presence of technology within our facility. And then Jean will finish up discussing our plans relative to social media and our strategy there. So, Jonathan, you're up.
Oh, Jim, do you have the clicker? Mic check 1, 2. You got me? I bet you they can hear me now. Maybe. Bear with me. This is my first time using a mouse. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to go through this fairly quickly. I've broken down kind of the way that we're handling the technology upgrades in the church into a number of phases. Just to be clear, all of these phases do kind of tie into one another, but this is the way that I keep it straight in my brain. So the first phase that we have here is the infrastructure phase. And this is knowing that especially in the church office and kind of throughout the building, our infrastructure to support some of the high-speed stuff that we want to do really wasn't what we needed it to be in order to make that happen. So the goal is to, get through that. On that side of it, the first thing we needed to do is we needed to get business-grade, not just necessarily internet, which we've done through Allo, and they've been wonderful for us, but also the router that supports it. For a building this size and for what we want to do, buying the $39 Linksys at Best Buy just doesn't get it done. So we have invested in a device that is actually a device I use even at my place of work. We use these infrastructures to do that, and it gives us a lot of flexibility to expand in the future. So with that, the next thing we have, of course, is the wireless side of things. We've added a long-range wireless access point in the building, and we also have the ability to have long distance. So, as we go through that path of putting extra wireless in the sanctuary, putting extra wireless in the fellowship hall, basically wherever we need it, we have the ability to do that. Honestly, I've walked around with my phone a lot, and the dead spots are like in the bathrooms on the far side over there, which I'm not super worried about, honestly. Third thing, I don't know if any of you had ever seen our old Windows 2000 server system. It was old when it had Windows 2000 put on it, and finally kind of bit the dust with a failed update. But we've replaced that with a modern NAS with redundant storage, so that as we do share some of these things and make these connections, we're going to have a way to do that that's failure tolerant. We're not going to be in a case where if the server goes down, no one has internet. Things like that, we're definitely looking into. The thing I do want to say about this is there's definitely some things that we will store locally, like the slide presentations, videos, things like that. But Pastor and Marianne and everyone in the office has done a wonderful job of transitioning away from really keeping everything local. We implemented Google Docs to do that, and they've done a great job of making sure that everything really lives in the cloud as it relates to day-to-day operations. Now, of course, we keep paper backups. We're a church. Pastor's shown me things that she's pulled out of the archive from 20 years ago. So, that's still going to be around, but we are definitely making that good transition. Finally, to do that, of course, we do need to upgrade the computers that they are running on. Pastor and Marianne have their new machines. I have the new machine complete for the music folks. I just need my copious free time to come in here and actually transfer and get it installed, but that is ready to go. In terms of phase 2, we'd be talking about upgrading our presentation hardware there in the back. Several years ago, we upgraded the soundboard, and that has been a momentous and wonderful change, just in terms of the management and the accessibility of having that device done. Today, I'm definitely reminded, running 2 laptops, Easy Worship on one, Zoom on the other, clicking back and forth, that it's a hard job. So if you haven't thanked Ken recently for his service, please do so, because every time I do pitch hit, I'm reminded of how complex that process is. And so in a term to get that better, we need one device that can do it all. Has the capability to run all these different screens, to have multiple screens up there, to take camera inputs, to stream online, and to do all of that side of it. Unfortunately, the side of that is that the chip shortage has really hit us hard. Not to get too deep in the weeds, but with the tech support, with video cards, and with a lot of other chips, even getting a high quality component, not like the bleeding edge, but just something that will do the work, is pretty complicated. I've placed orders, I've had orders canceled, I've had prices change. It's been a roller coaster, but we're getting towards the other side of that. Once we get through Easter, obviously, we don't want to change things right in the middle of Easter. I'm sure Pastor would love if I just took everything apart the week before Easter. That'd be great. You might not see me around too much anymore. But, we definitely have that in plans. A big part of that, of course, will be migrating our Easy Worship because of the operating system and the things that we run on that computer. It's an older version and will need to be migrated into the new system so that we're able to run it on modern hardware. The last thing, of course, with that is we need to be able to teach this. Right now, going through it, it's a lot of lessons learned. It's a lot of Ken having done it through the quarantine and being the guy sitting right here and figuring out the right orders of doing things with 2 computers. Doing it with one, obviously, is a little more complicated, but we love for more people to get involved with this, to be able to do it and to not look at it and go, I don't even know what's going on back there. We want it to be accessible, and we want it to be a case where, someone could jump in and pinch hit if it needed to happen. Phase 3, camera upgrades. There's a lot of things we need to do there. For those of you at home, you may have noticed that this camera died out about halfway through. That's because we've got a wire running all the way back to the sanctuary, and that wire got bumped. It happens, but it is something we can avoid. Also, all of these cameras are not what you would call the highest quality. We went through a lot of this. We want to get our presentation versatility, and our picture quality to a much higher level. We went through quite a bit of different options through there. We involved Jamie Wentz. Yes, yeah. He's got some expertise in this and gave us some great counsel as to what to look for. So this is the realm we're going to go through. If you've never seen the PTZ option before, what that means is pan, tilt, zoom. It means that any camera we order isn't just going to be a static picture, but will be controllable, so you can turn it, you can zoom it in, you can do all of that directly from the computer interface. This gives us some, ability to really define different areas. Like if I'm up here, that's one thing. If pastor is down there with children's time, it might be something we are able to get a better picture of back here in communion, etc. It gives us the flexibility to make those moves without standing up and going over and readjusting a camera and looking at the screen and, oh, does it look right? Pastor and Ken have done some looking around with cameras, trying to find some good locations for those to be mounted to give us the best picture. Obviously, that's going to be a case of seeing it in person. There may be some test Saturdays with a camera on a tripod in different locations, seeing what that looks like. Really getting it in so that all of this work that we're doing towards this end gives us the best possible outcome. Finally, the other side of that is we do have to be able to control these easily. Again, you don't want someone having to joystick through and find exactly the location they're looking for every time. We want shortcuts where they can go 1, 2, 3, just like you would in a professional television studio where you're not, your camera 1, your camera 2, they're already in their shot, the transitions are clear. That's what we're looking for in that regard. Once we've got all of that going, obviously we need to mount them. We need to get them in a permanent fixture and run the cables through here so people aren't tripping over them, and we have a durable installation for the future to come. Last piece, of course, is that figuring out how all of that works into our slides and sound workflow, and being able, again, to add to that playbook and train people to be able to do this on a Sunday without having to spend, a week just reading through the documentation. Once we get all of that done, let's talk about the future. Let's talk about some of the things that would be really nice when we go through there. Obviously, we're using Zoom right now. We've been with Zoom for quite a while. But Zoom is not necessarily always the best platform for this sort of thing. There's YouTube, there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's all of those things out there, and we'd like to be able to not just necessarily use only one service, but stream to many services to make St. Andrews available wherever you are. That's a big piece of it. Of course, we will need to consider each of these platforms and make sure that our message isn't getting garbled with ads we don't want or other links or things along those lines. That's definitely something to consider, but the more accessible we can make it, the better it is for us. We do want to expand the wireless networking within the church. Like I say, we've got pretty good signal a lot of places now, but the better we can do with that, and the more capabilities we can add. It's not a very expensive ad, but for those of you that may have heard the term mesh networking, this is not a great building for mesh networking. There's a lot of reasons why your typical mesh network system wouldn't be good for us. So we will actually have to run cable to those far distant ends to make that happen. That enables a lot of things, having networking in the fellowship hall, maybe even being able to connect up cameras there. There's neat stuff that can happen down that realm, but this is kind of the future. One other thing we've talked about a lot, we've gotten some quotes and looked at some other things, is to enhance our security around the property. What this comes down to is adding network security cameras to our existing infrastructure. Harken back to that router that I talked about a little earlier. It has the ability to support not only the network side of things and having multiple networks in a safe way, but integrated camera views. It knows how to do that. If we ever got to the point where we wanted to do a buzz-in door system, it has the capability to do that. All of those things are within our goal, or within our reach now that we've done some of these infrastructure-based upgrades. So, where can you help? This is definitely something that, there's been a lot of thought and a lot of consultation going into getting these things and deciding what the right answer is. But we're not experts. I don't necessarily have the tools or the extra 8 or 9 hands I would need to run cable by myself, down to the fellowship hall or into the youth room or other things like that. So that's definitely something that people could help with. Helping with presentations, obviously, is a huge one. Right now, there's 2 of us, so Ken and I are kind of like we don't go anywhere together in case we get hit by a bus. Don't want to be in that sort of situation. So anyone that could help along those lines. Also, just the thought process of, did I put that twice? Oh, I really did. Just the thought process of not only what we're doing now, but what you'd like to see. This is a new space for us. We got a lot of ideas, even 2 years down the road, of things that could happen. And if there's something that you are missing or something that you feel could be implemented or you had a great idea about, by all means reach out. There are no bad answers here when it comes to what we can do to further St. Andrews, and we'd love to hear from you. At that point, if you have any questions for me, either online or in the sanctuary, I will take them now. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Gene, and he will go through his plans that he's been working on with a lot of folks to get our social media presence more out there. Thank you very much.
Okay, am I visible and audible? A little more? That work for you? Okay, thank you to all who are on Zoom this morning and those that are here. Okay, I'm going to use my flip cards here a little bit. Our background here is COVID pandemic forced some unforeseeable and unexpected, undesirable closure of the gatherings. We had to pivot pretty quickly on this. We've gone to Zoom and et cetera. So that's where we come from. Jonathan and Kim and Ken and everybody else that have worked so hard on this to get this ready to go for us, and it's working well so far. Thank you for all of your efforts on this. We appreciate that. Post-quarantine here, the council retreat, we focused on the book, I believe there are 9 chapters, Jim, thereabouts. The Post-Quarantine Church by Tom Rainer, who's fairly well known as a church advisor. One of the things that came out of this was where we were going. A direction for our retreat, we came up with a greater social media presence for the congregation. My vision for this is that we become a one-stop shop for all things St. Andrews. Going forward, the pandemic restrictions are relaxed. We had 60 people in the pews this morning and 28, I believe, Jonathan, on Zoom. I think that's phenomenal. I'm really happy to see us coming out of the closures and the pandemic things. So we'll continue with that. We need to do a little more with social media, and I'm not sure exactly what direction. We are present on Facebook, and you do devotion. Pastor does devotions daily that show up. I don't know how many of you are taking it, and she's pointing at me, but no. Okay, one view consistently. We'd like to make that, encourage you to do that. slide behind there, and there are links to the Facebook page and YouTube, et cetera, in the stand, so you can find that easily. We can add to the Facebook. We want to tell our story with photos and current events of what's going on. To me, this local thing is really important because there's a lot more to being part of the ELCA and the Worldwide Church than there is just in Meadow Lane. We are a worldwide church. We have the Lincoln Cluster, the Lincoln Community, the Nebraska Synod, and all the servings arm of the ELCA and worldwide, and that's become very important with Ukraine and so on. So we want to make one-stop shop for St. Andrews through our social media so you can get the latest updates without having to flip through a number of websites. Towards that, the council has recommended at this point in time that we develop a task force with me in charge of it to improve and embrace more of the social media. The current thought is that we would locate an individual who would work on a part-time basis and quite possibly an internship basis to help us go forward with our social media. They would be, as I said, engaged on a part-time basis and work under the direction of the pastoral staff and the council. Current thinking is this would be possibly someone from the Lutheran Center downtown, and we would hope to be able to integrate that with their curriculum and studies. We're looking for someone probably in the university system, not limited to UNL, would be a Lutheran and be a post-high school student and be able to adult on all the information that they would have. So this is intended probably come the fall semester, we would be headed in that direction. So we do need members who do social media to come forward and help us out on this and give us advice. So I'm looking for volunteers. Questions, Jonathan? You volunteered, there you go. You already told me that, so we're in good shape. Jim, I think we made it by 11. I will turn it back over to you. Any other questions? Anything from the online? Hearing none.
So just a couple closing comments. Obviously, this through Council's Retreat plus through simply the experience that we've had through COVID, this has become a priority for us. I forget exactly what terminology came out of the retreat. I shared it at the very first Faith Forum, but it's basically being digitally relevant. So this is part of that process. Buses left the station, and we understand the criticalness of maintaining some online presence and enhancing it. And as Gene stated, though, the fact that, there's a regular group of people who worship online now. There were 60 of us in the sanctuary this morning, but almost 30 online. So, that's it. New normal, I guess, if you want to use that terminology. So, really, it's just, we have a lot of priorities this year. We've already talked about our finances, for example. We'll be focusing on that throughout the year, but this is another very important priority as well relative to technology and our social media strategy. So, as you see on the screen right now, any questions about Jonathan's technology presentation or Gene's presentation on social media? Any pieces missing? Any questions? Did we create some confusion? Mary Porter. So for those of you online, Mary Porter was out of town in Phoenix and joined us Sunday morning and was very pleased that she was still able to basically be part of the St. Andrews community on a Sunday morning, even though Phoenix is how many miles away? 1,200, 1,000? Yeah, it's a hike. So thank you, Mary. Yeah, absolutely, joining us online. And yeah, even if, whether it's on your laptop, iPhone, iPad, in the car, yeah, it's excellent. You're right. We can still be part of the community even though we might be out of town. Anybody else? Any gaps? Anything we've missed? Any recommendations? Pastor Kim. So Pastor Kim reminded everyone that the worship service is available on YouTube. And is it dated after? I mean, is it permanently there, or is it okay? So if you have a favorite sermon that you like listening to, right, you can go back and listen to it and repeat it. Okay, excellent. Just like your favorite song, always accessible. I had one other thought that just came to me, but just as quickly, it was also lost. Jonathan?
So Gene called it out a little bit, but I'd really like to illuminate that a little bit further in that we, as St. Andrews, as a council, need your help, and we need, not just, everyday help, because we always need that, but very specifically, if you are engaged with social media, if you, do it as part of your main job, if you have, family that has that expertise, if you, live in that world for any reason, we absolutely, request that if you can, please volunteer a little bit of time, because I'm going to be honest, I'm old enough, and although I am very well versed on the technical aspects of managing the accounts and how they post and all that good stuff, the personality or the thought process that it takes to have a good, committed presence on social media is not one I have. It's not in my skill set. I don't know how to do that. I don't know that a lot of us in that place know how to do that. So I appeal to you as a congregation, as people out there in that world, that please share that with us. If you know people that are passionate in that space, share that with us. We may be able to, make use of that if they're part of the Lutheran Student Center, and we can possibly contribute to their educational credits in that way, even better. But yeah, just, anything you have, please send it our way.
Thank you, Jonathan. Any other questions, comments, any gaps that need to be filled? So final slide, just a reminder, our next Faith Forum will be on Sunday, May 8th, and probably Pastor will be the primary presenter that day, filling us in on the upcoming annual Synod Assembly and the election of our new bishop. As you know, Bishop Moss has resigned, I think effective September 1 or thereabouts. So our next Faith Forum is on May 8th, and then we do plan additional forums later in the year, topics and dates to be announced. Anything before we finish up? All right, thank you, everyone. See you next time.